All right, AP students, let's start concept 4.1. We are about halfway done with our concepts for the year. Good news. Our first term is Columbian Exchange. This is a huge term for you to know in the AP exam. What you need to know about the Columbian Exchange is basically this is an exchange of goods, diseases, products, and even people that occurs after 1492. Basically, after Columbus sails from Spain to the New World, and there starts being transatlantic ships going back and forth, and they bring goods from what is considered the Old World, Europe and Africa, to the Americas, where they get farmed here, and goods from the Americas, which is considered the New World by the Europeans. They take these goods, which are considered from the New World, to the Old World. Along with these also come diseases like smallpox and measles, which have a catastrophic effect on the native population of the Americas and wipe out 50 to 90% of the population. It's very historically significant. It changes the land, it changes the foods, and in some ways it increases population because people are able to eat more different kinds of foods. That is the Columbian Exchange. It is possibly one of the most significant terms, if not the most significant term, of the entire AP exam. It will be on the test, I guarantee it. Next term on our list is diseases, Europe and the New World. The biggest one will be smallpox for this one. These are diseases like smallpox, measles, influenza, which went from Europe and Africa to the Americas. When they went there, they had a catastrophic effect, wiping out 50 to 90% of the native population. This is what made it so possible for Europeans to, this is historical significance, by the way, this is what made it so possible for Europeans to take land in the New World and then farm it and take it basically away from a huge indigenous native population that lived in the Americas for thousands of years before this. So smallpox and diseases have a catastrophic effect on the population, killing up to 50 to 90%. Those are diseases from Europe, like smallpox, measles, and influenza. Let's go back to our picture for this one, and here we see new crops. New crops is our vocabulary word here. Crops mean basically items you can plant and eat, like bananas, citrus fruit, coffee beans, grapes, or even grow and wear. Wheat, sugarcane, rice. These are crops that came from the Old World, again we're referring to Europe, Asia, and Africa, and went to the New World, the Americas, while crops like beans, cacao, maize, and peanuts went to the New World. Very historically significant. We see many of these crops like bananas are grown in the Caribbean. Sugarcane is grown in mass in the areas of the Americas, especially in the Caribbean and Brazil, and then sold back in Europe. Potatoes, for example, very significant because that goes to Ireland and other places in Europe and becomes part of the European diet, and it lets people live longer. Many people do live longer because of the new crops that go back and forth because of the Columbian Exchange. It gives them more variety of people's diets in their food that they eat. And that'll get us into our next word, which is potatoes. And there again, we see potatoes is on our list. Potatoes are originally from South America. They're an Andean crop, and there were many hundreds of different varieties of potatoes that were grown in the Andes in Peru. They're able to spread in the Columbian Exchange, especially to Europe, and become a huge food in the diet of Europe. Ireland and Europe, and potatoes are very significant as they increase the calories and the amount people can eat. They're also significant because in Ireland they're grown very heavily, but eventually there becomes the potato blight or potato famine, where there's this bacteria that starts killing potatoes. And what happens is the people of Ireland begin to starve because they were so dependent upon potatoes as a crop. That's potatoes, very significant as one of the new crops in the Columbian Exchange, originally from the Andes. We'll continue with cash crops. Cash crops are crops that are not meant to be eaten, but are meant to be sold to make a profit. Two real big examples of these would be sugarcane and tobacco. And as you can see, sugarcane originally is from the Old World, and it travels to the New World and is grown in the Caribbean and Brazil. Actually, much of it is cut and produced by slaves during this time period, many of African slaves who are brought to the Caribbean and Brazil. Tobacco, likewise, was from the New World, and it's grown and mass-produced mostly by Europeans who are then able to sell this and make a big profit. Very significant because we see a transition here where more crops are being mass-produced and sold to make a profit, and many Europeans, for example, make a lot of money on this. Also, cash crops are significant because they're a big reason for the increase in slavery, especially slavery first of the native people until they start dying of smallpox, and then of people from Africa who come to grow these cash crops, especially like sugar and tobacco in our early modern era. I just mentioned tobacco and sugar. You can put for both of them that they're cash crops. You can put tobacco as from the New World. Europeans grow it. They use a lot of slave labor to grow it and make a profit off it. Sugar is a crop that's from the Old World, comes to the New World, again is mass-produced, grown by many slaves, and sold in the New World and all over the world. And both these products make a lot of money for European countries, especially countries like England and France, who make a huge profit off this in the early modern era.